Okay, so before we move on to our last lesson of chapter 10, 10.8 equations of circles, here's a quick jump start, just a quick review, 5 questions, so you can pause the video where needed. The first 4, I'll give you a minute to look through those. You're finding X, hopefully you have room, and then I'll scroll up when we're done going over those for number 5. Okay, so for the first 2 here, for number 1, we'll start here. We're solving for X. Remember, whenever we have chords or secant lines in a circle that intersect inside the circle, we multiply 2 segments of one chord, and that should be equal to the product of the 2 segments of the other chord. So we're going to multiply, which one do I have here? 6 times 3, and that should be equal to 9 times X. 6 times 3 is 18. I need to get X alone, so I'm going to divide both sides of the equal sign by 9. So that's going to give me 18 divided by 9 is 2. So here X equals 2. Hopefully you got that one right. Number 2, same thing. We're going to multiply our 2 segments together from one chord and set it equal to the product of the other 2. So 6 times 4, or 4 times 6, should be equal to X times 8, or 8X. 6 times 4 is 24, is equal to 8X. I need to get rid of this 8, so I'm going to divide both sides of the equal sign by 8. 24 divided by 8 is 3, and I need to always leave my answer with X first, so I get X equals 3. Okay, moving on down to 3 and 4, we've got our 2 secant lines here that intersect outside the circle, and then we've got a secant line and actually 2 secant lines. I was thinking we had a tangent. 2 secant lines here. So for number 3, I'm going to multiply the entire line by just the portion outside of the line. So I'm going to multiply, when I add these together, the whole line is going to be 18 plus X. Can you see that far outside? Yeah, good. All right, 18 plus X times just the part outside, which is X. And then I'm going to set it equal to, same thing here, the entire line times just the part outside. 10 plus 8 is 18, times just the portion outside the circle, which is 8. And now I can just solve for X. So here I'm going to distribute, and I get 18X plus X squared. And then 18 times 8 is 144. So I can see here I have all the parts of a quadratic equation. Nothing's going to get canceled out here. We're going to keep all those parts. So I need to move them all to one side of the equal sign. So I'm going to turn this side into 0. I'm going to subtract 144 from both sides of my equal sign and get X squared plus 18X minus 144 equals, and then I'm left with 0 on the other side. So now I can factor. To factor a quadratic, you start with the last number in the equation, the constant, and you find all the factors of this number that add up to the middle number. So factors of negative 144 that add up to 18 are negative 6 and positive 24. And you can take the time to do that. I'm giving you the shortcut here. So we have negative 6 and positive 24, kind of wrote that off to the side. I'm going to write my 2 binomials and set them equal to 0. So one's going to have that negative 6, one's going to have that positive 24. And then multiplicative property of 0 says that whenever we have 2 terms here, we multiply together to get 0. At least one, if not both of these, is going to be equal to 0. So we're just going to solve both of these for X as if it's equal to 0. Here, X would have to equal positive 6. Here, X would have to equal negative 24 for this to be 0. And we know that since they're representing lengths of a line, X can't be a negative number. So the only thing that's going to work here is X equals positive 6. I'm going to sneeze. I hear a phone ringing somewhere. All right, and then number 4, we're going to solve the exact same way, but the only difference is here, we're not going to end up with a quadratic equation. So we're going to multiply this entire line times just the portion outside. 3 plus 5 is 8. So 8 times just the portion outside. And set that equal to this entire line times 2. The entire line is 2 plus X. and we're multiplying it by 2. Okay, 8 times 3 is 24. And then if I distribute this 2, I get 4 plus 2x. I need to get x alone, so I'm going to subtract 4 from both sides. 20 equals 2x, and then divide both sides of my equal sign by 2, and I get 10 equals x, or just x equals 10. So hopefully you did well on that. Quick review. And then the last problem here, number 5. So go ahead and pause the video, try solving for x, and then resume. All right, finding x in the figure. So we've got one tangent line that just touches our circle, and then one secant line. So for both of these lines, we're still going to stick to that rule. We multiply the entire line times just the portion outside the circle. So I'll start here. The entire line is x plus 3. And then times just the 3 outside the circle. And that's equal to the other entire line, which is 8. Times just the portion outside the circle. Well, with a tangent line, the whole thing is outside the circle. So I'm going to multiply it by 8. Or in other words, just the entire line squared. And now I can solve. Distribute the 3. 3x plus 9 equals 64. I'm going to subtract 9 from both sides of my equal sign and get 3x equals 55. And then I'm going to divide both sides of my equal sign by 3. And you will either get 18.3 repeating, which you can write like that, or if you were an overachiever and kept it all in fraction form, which is my personal favorite, you would have gotten 18 1/3. So either one of those would have been correct for this problem. Let us know if you have questions.